Are you someone who doesn't see every movie that comes out? Do you hate your friends and strangers asking if you have seen a movie and then freak out when you haven't? Well, join the You Hate to See It Podbean, and you can join Jeff as he talks with Adam, but not me, about movies that Adam forced him to watch, but not me. So you don't have to. Who knows? Maybe you'll finally go see a movie.
Welcome, everyone, to the brand new episode of You Hate to See It. I'm Adam.
I'm Nick.
And this week we are joined by special guest, John Anthony. You may know him from one of his many short films that he's done, such as The Session, and coming soon, the My Journey to Me. So thanks for coming on the show, John.
Hey, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Like I said, you've done a lot of short films. And before we start talking about all of them, what has been your favorite short that you've done so far?
Gee, that's a good question. Because there's some that I won't even let people see because I just think they're horrible. And it's just like, like one of my friends who does all my production stuff, he's, no, that's a good film. We need to get it out there. I'm like, no, I'm not showing that. I'd probably say Rookies, Family Matter, and Swimmers are probably my three favorites.
Okay.
And then my toughest one, I think, that I wrote and actually acted in was A Love Not Lost. Was probably like the hardest thing that I ever had to do from an acting standpoint. So,
can you explain why was that the hardest one?
Yeah, because I played a mentally slow elderly man who's lived his whole entire life in assisted living homes, and then his brother comes to take him out of it because his parents had passed, and he's to the point now where it's just like he wants to give his older brother a life and not spend his entire lifetime living in a home where he's taken care of, and actually he gets his own room and they get a new house and all this other stuff, and he gets all excited about that. And it's just but just playing that role was just like really, really tough because you wanted, I did a lot of research on it and studied and stuff like that. And it was just I did the scene from the film. I did a small scene in one of my acting classes, and then it just kind of gave me like it went over very, very well, and it kind of went, and then I just was like, I'm gonna turn this into a short film. And it's actually done really, really well. It's done well on the short film festival. So I'm really proud of that as well.
I was watching your reel on your website, because let me tell you, finding your short films online has been a pain for me.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You're not going to find any of them online except for my favorite song, which is actually on my webpage.
Okay.
Because what happens is, like, a lot of them, when they're on the short film circuit, they ask that you don't put them out anywhere else until you're done. So eventually we'll have, a lot of the films up there on, I'll either have like a YouTube channel with them on there, or I'll have, put some of them, or just even maybe like rotate them out on the website.
So playing someone with mental difficulties, how did you find that process of trying to come off as not as real and not necessarily poking fun as someone who doesn't have those issues? Like, how do you find that balance?
Like I said, I did a lot of studying. I don't know if you ever saw the movie I Am Sam with Sean Penn. Great movie.
I've heard a lot of good things.
Yeah, but he plays a man with Down syndrome, and he's amazing. He was just incredible. So like I said, it just kind of just like creating this character, and being able to kind of practice how I was going to portray him in class. And my acting coach, he was very, very fond of the character. And anytime when you're doing doing an acting class, you have scenes that you do throughout class, and you have your classes in there. And when you can get to the point where you move the audience to tears, and there's people crying based off of how the scene went or how the character is. You kind of know that maybe you got something, or maybe you hit the right mark. Because he was very positive, and he's just like, just in case you don't know, the majority of us are like crying in class. So it was very, very good. And I was with an incredible actress, and she was just amazing to make the scene just kind of work.
So yeah, you've been talking a bit about acting class. So you started acting late in life, right?
Yeah, I started when I was 50.
2014.
I'm 58 now. Started when I was 50. Started in an acting class during the summertime because I'm a full-time teacher during the day. And was with this one instructor for a couple of years and learned some stuff. And then I had a friend of mine, she went and audited the class and came back. She's like, hey, you need to take this class. So I went and audited the class and just got blown away with this instructor by the name of Glenn Morshower. I don't know if you know him. He's been in Ozarks. He's been on The Resident. He's been every general in every Transformer movie. He's been in over 200 movies. He was Adam Pearce in 24. So the stuff that I learned from him was just like amazing. Not just from an acting standpoint too, from just a life standpoint, and how to go about things, and understanding that, if this is what you want to do, if this is your passion, that you've got to understand that it's a marathon, not a sprint, because there's people who want to get into acting and they move out to LA, and I've had friends do that, and 3 months later they're back because it's just like, oh, it's too tough, I can't do this, and I've got friends out there who are still fighting it and doing their thing, everything they can, and because that's what they believe in, which is which is what you need to do. Biggest thing is believing in yourself, because you're always going to have doubters or haters or people, skeptics and stuff like that. I mean, I have friends that are like that now, where it's like, I wrote a screenplay that I pitched to a production company out in LA, and they said they wanted to read it, so I sent it to them. And I was telling a friend of mine, he's just like, well, how much money do you want to get? Do you want to sell it? This, like, I don't want to sell it, because to me it's an art. If I can bring something to life and I can write something, and of course everybody wants to get paid, but to me it's more of just like, putting something out there that people can appreciate. And I told him, I said, when I wrote this screenplay, I said the only person I had in mind for playing the lead role was Morgan Freeman.
Mm-hmm.
And to this day he's just like, oh, you're never going to get Morgan Freeman. You're never going to get Morgan Freeman. I said, you know what? Be a doubter, man. I'm a dreamer. I'm gonna keep fighting until maybe if I could even just sit down and have him read the script, that would be like the greatest thing for me. So
yeah.
But like I said, you're always gonna have you're gonna have your doubters. But if you believe in yourself and you believe in what you want to do, the sky's the limit.
So what was the process like getting your first gig? It says that your first short film was A Gift in 2016.
Yeah, so that was kind of, I wrote a scene in class, and this is actually when I was in Glenn's class. And when we got done, a friend of mine who's a really talented actor, he was in class, he watched it, he loved it. He comes up afterwards, he goes, hey, we can make this a short film. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because it's like 3 pages long, the script that I wrote. He goes, well, you got a beginning, you got a middle, and you got an end. He goes, if you want, I'll direct it for you. And I'm like, yeah. So we found a place to shoot at, and I asked some of the other actors in my class if they want to be a part of it, and everyone was just like, yeah. And then we went and shot it. And once we got it done, he edited it for me, put music to it for me. And then he's like, all right, now go submit it. Start submitting it to film festivals. And it did fairly well. It got in quite a few. It won an award. That whole thing just kind of really kicked things off, where it's just like, all right, you know what? This is what I really like to do. The acting aspect I love, and the writing aspect I love as well.
What would you say is more rewarding, writing or acting?
I mean, for me, I'd say it's both, but like for me, it's like, if I'm focused on a story, um, a lot of times it's you know it's going to be the writing aspect, because you know if I can put something down on paper and my actors bring it to life from a writing standpoint, it's like the as a writer, it's like the greatest thrill, because it's like you guys did exactly what I wanted to, you know. And the same thing from acting, you know, if I have it and you know if I'm given a character and I bring it home and to the point where it's just like, you know, hey, that was exactly what we wanted, you know. So it's kind of like they're both right up there, but you know, I've kind of got the writing bug right now, so I'm kind of leaning more towards writing right now. But you know, I love them both. So you know, it kind of it almost like kind of depends on the day or the week, I guess.
Do you get a lot of inspiration? Like, is it just an idea pops in your head, or is it life experiences? What's your big drive for writing?
You know, it's and this is gonna sound really kind of crazy, but most of the music I listen to, I mean, I listen to all music, but like when I'm driving from home from work, or if I got to go down to like Austin for an audition or something like that, I listen to a lot of soundtracks, mainly just because there's not a lot of words and it's just, you know, melodies. And then all of a sudden I'll think of something just kind of like pop out of my head. And then, you know, I'm like, Siri, take a note, and, you know, hey, stories about this. And then, you know, I'll be driving and I'll keep going. And then if, you know, if all of a sudden I have a line, I want to base something off it, it might be like, all right, dad says this. And then when I get home, I just go back and pull up my notes off my phone, and I just, you know, I sit down and I start writing. Which is, you know, it's kind of like, because if you look at the genre of my films, I'm kind of like, you know, just like someone took some marbles and just threw them on the floor and they just scattered everywhere. Because I've got, you know, a couple movies about mafia. I'm a big Sopranos guy. Love David Chase, Casino, Goodfellas. You know, all those movies. And then, you know, I've got a couple family movies. I've got a, you know, a dark comedy. I've got one which is actually on the website called my favorite song, which is kind of a feel good kind of it's a drama, but it's kind of like a, I don't even know how you would classify it as, but just kind of like a drama, but it's a micro short, and it's only like 6 minutes long. But you know, that's also one of my favorites because it just turned out so well. I mean, I was really, really pleased with how everything how it all came out.
So as someone who's completely unfamiliar with short films, how, like, what's the average length that you usually try and go for when you're writing and
Yeah,
acting?
so basically, like micro shorts are generally under 5 minutes, you know, and then they even have like super micro shorts, which can be like 2 minutes. Average length of a short film is anywhere between 10 and 25 minutes. Um, you know, some will even, you know, some contests say if it's under 55 minutes or under 58 minutes, you can still put it in as a short film. Anything over like a certain amount is basically considered like a feature film if it's over an hour or something. But generally, most short films, you know, like mine range anywhere from 6 minutes to, I think the longest one is like 33 minutes. But on average, they're probably 15, 18 minutes.
All right. This is my last question, then I'll let Adam actually have the mic back. Uh, so would you say it's more challenging to do short films because it's just like a time constraint to fit in a full story? Or would you say that if you had, you know, the hour and a half, would it be easier to write a more in-depth story?
That's a great question, because it's just like, you know, I think the only thing like with short films is you have a very short window to get your point across, or you know what you're trying to portray. Whereas in like one of my films, A Family Matter, was a short film that I did. It was like 24 minutes. I'm actually now turning that into a full length feature. But at the same time, now, you know, it's you meet the characters in the short film, but you really don't know the characters other than their names, and you know they're part of this mob group or whatever. So when you're writing, you know, a full length feature, if it's based off of it, you delve in more into their backstories, who they are, you know, how did they get involved in this and all this stuff. So yeah, it's for me, I'd probably say a little bit harder for the short film aspect, because again, you know, depending on the length of your film, you know, um, you want to capture the audience's attention and keep them there. Um, but then at the same time, you can watch a full length feature and it's like you get bored after like 25 minutes of watching it. Just like, oh my God, just this is killing me. But yeah, but again, it all really comes down to the writing. If your writing's good, whether it be a short or a full length feature, your stuff's going to be good. So
For me personally, I find short films so much easier because I'm very like get to point A to point B as fast as humanly possible kind of
right,
writer. So I struggle with like great at writing a scene, and then but everything I need to say is done. Like I'm like, all right, what happens next? I have no idea because like it'd be me writing a bunch of short films and then moving them into one movie is basically what I would
right,
have to do.
right. No,
But yeah,
no, yeah. It's funny because we're getting ready to shoot this new film, My Journey to Me, and you know, as a writer, especially when you're writing scripts, you're always going to have rewrites. You're going to change things and so forth. But with this one, I've actually changed it 9 times, and it's funny because we had two table reads. The first night I had just the two leads come in and they read and they were fantastic. And then I had the rest of the cast like about 2 weeks later, and they came in and read. And then as they're reading, they're stopping. We need to put this in here. You need to put this in here. And I'm like looking at all of them, and I'm like, you guys really think I need to add that? And they're like, yeah, because we want to see this conflict. We want to see this because there's no conflict. And then, of course, so then I go in and I write it and I put it in there. And then I'm like going, it's going from like 25 pages. Now it's 30 pages. Then it's 33 pages. And I told my buddy, I said, I don't want to put any more in there because I don't want to drag it on. Just like you said, you want to get to point A and point B,
yeah,
to point B, and then, you have your film. But I don't like to put stuff in there just to have stuff in there.
yeah.
But this actually worked out right because they all agreed that there needed to be some type of a little bit more of a conflict. And after going back and reading it, I totally understood what what they said. And so I ended up just writing another page and a half just to kind of add it to it. So.
Yeah, I wish I had luxury of just having people willing to act for me and stuff like that. I'm like I write these things, and also I have multiple jobs, and that basically ties me up from the start of fall to the end of spring. So I really can only sit down and write during the summer. So I get my ideas, I just toss them write everything I got on pieces of paper, file them away. Every once in a while I'll have a new idea, and if it fits in with something I'm already doing, like I'll add it to the sheet, and then I wait until the summer to actually have time to write it all. But yeah, it's a hard knock life over here.
It's funny you talk about the pieces of paper because there's so many times my wife will pick, do you need this? I said, what is it? And she'll read a line that I wrote down. I go, yeah, don't throw that away. So I have whether it be on a napkin or like in a mail, an envelope that's getting ready to get tossed. I go, don't throw that away. I need that.
Yeah, that's why I have a tote right next to me with little folders in it that I just, no matter any scratch paper, I'll be like, oh, this is like, I have a movie that I'm still working on of it's called like Cicada. It's basically a guy that like a kind of cross between Friday the 13th and the Zodiac.
Where a dude turns into a cicada.
No, it's just a guy who he comes about every 14 years and kills people while cicadas are out because the sound of cicadas covers up the sounds of the screams. So he just keeps coming back, and they never can find him because he's only out for so long, and then he disappears for years. So they're trying to piece all that together, and that's been I get like, oh, this would be a really cool line for the detective to say or something, and I file that away, and I got scraps of paper everywhere of just crap that
I want to make fun of that so much, but that actually sounds really interesting. I really want to make fun of that.
I don't get too many original ideas, so I love adapting too. I find like short stories and adapt them into short films and stuff.
Right.
And just for fun, I've been adapting the Harry Potter books as if it was like a Netflix TV show.
There
And
you
I
go.
just sit there and I just do it, and I go like, why am I spending so much time on this? Because this can literally never be made. Like I can't, like this is not something I can really sell to people. But
Hey, you know what? Never say never, because if you look at some of the stuff that's out there, it's like, I mean, you ever turn on TV show, go, how did this get made? And my wife's big like that. She'll watch films like, I'm like, what are you watching? I go, she says, I don't know how. I mean, I don't know how they even this got made. I go, but honey, somebody wanted to watch it.
Think of how many shows there are based off of the British Crown alone. It's all the same thing.
It's just like, someone said, one of my actors said, there's only really like three types of movies. There's a bank robbery movie, there's a love story, and there's a horror movie. And if you think about it, it's all kind of, it's really kind of true to some extent when you look at stuff and you're like, well, that's kind of, yeah, maybe he's right. Maybe there is a part of that that's true.
have you heard the book
but
series called Save the Cat?
I have not.
Oh, so Save the Cat. It's written by Blake Snyder, the Save the Cat, but he basically goes in depth on screenwriting and how to do it and the types of stories that there are. And he's like, there's like six. He's like, there's six stories, and I can prove to you that there's only six, and break down how I think it's like Aliens and Forrest Gump are the same movie or stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
you're just going through and like the wildness, and like I've like pounded through those books so fast. I got the first one, started going through it, and I think I finished it in like 2 days and just kept going and buying more and more.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's kind of the same thing. Like my teacher was saying, it's just like there's only a certain genre. I mean, there's only certain types of movies, and they all kind of coincide with each other.
Yeah.
I'd be interesting to see the correlation from Aliens and Forrest Gump, though.
I think I'm pretty sure I just made that up, but
Oh.
Now you're lying. Just
I am. No, I'm lying just for effect. Just trying.
Hyperbole, still lying at him.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he goes. It's very interesting. Like some of the movies that like he goes into, and he's like, yeah, they're exactly the same movie. Like all the words are different, and the characters all have different names, but he's like, when you break it down from beat for beat for beat, it's the same. It's the exact same thing. And like sometimes like it's a comedy and sometimes it's a horror, and they're actually the same movie. Like it just instead of killing someone, you're making fun of someone or this thing or that thing. Like, yeah, I love that stuff. And I'm very excited for this upcoming in a month or so when I can start really hammering down on writing again and try and get something made. Maybe. I've written a couple shorts, and one of them's been recorded. I wrote it in college, and we shot it all, and I directed it and wrote it, and we made the whole short film. And then my editor turned in a rough draft the day before the whole project was due. And I was like, well, are you ever gonna, finish the cut? And he was like, no. And I was like, cool. So that's still sitting there on my computer waiting to be edited.
That's why you surround yourself with good people. Like someone, I have people go, how big's your production company? And I go, it consists of two people, me and my friend Ben. He shoots it, he edits it, he puts it all together. The cool thing is I got in touch with my old high school friend who actually is a musician out in Oregon, and he's he's got great music. And I had one day I had asked him if I could use one of his songs in my films, and he's like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, promote my music all you want, which was really, really cool. And then I had met another guy when I was on a voiceover, and I was talking to him about a family matter. I said, man, I'm looking for someone to do sound for me. I've got this I got to put in and this. And he goes, I do that. So, and it's through networking, you start meeting these people, and he's done like my last 4 films, and he's done phenomenal.
Yeah, it's I've started doing, I'm a production assistant. And by saying I'm a production assistant, I mean I did 3 projects and COVID shut everything down. So I'm not really a production assistant anymore. But it was just it's amazing to me just doing podcast stuff and things like that. Like like a lot of people are really just willing to do things cheap or even for free. It's the getting in touch with them that's the
Yeah,
struggle, trying to get in
yeah,
contact and have the names and have a night. And then after that, it's all easy. Like people will do a lot of things. Yeah.
no, you're right, 100%.
So pulling up my notes again, going back to some of your projects. And we've talked a lot about A Family Matter. I see that you play the exact same character in Rookies and A
Yeah.
Family Matter. Are they
Hmm.
supposed to be connected, or was that because I
Yeah,
saw
it's
there's other
actually,
actors that don't play the same characters, but
yeah. So, yeah, because Rookies was like the first one, the first kind of mob thing that I did, and it's basically just about two young guys who want to get made, and they got to take out this rival mob guy, and they try to do it in this little diner, and it was just, and then after that, I had, I liked the character so much, and I liked the way the movie turned out so well. I wanted to keep him, kind of keep him around, and then put him in, A Family Matter, and then which were, because the Rookies I think is like 10 minutes, and then A Family Matter is Family Matter turned out to be like 24, 25 minutes, something like that. So because I liked his character so much, I didn't want him, I didn't want to, have him get, knocked off or something, so I could bring him back, and that kind of gave me like the drive to write A Family Matter.
so you said you're trying to turn A Family Matter into like a full movie now.
Full length feature, yeah.
Are you trying to like kind of weave Rookies into that as well? Or are you kind of saying like Rookies is its own separate thing? It's not going to be in.
No, that's a great point, because no, because it's like, a lot of the stuff in Family Matter, the short film, we're just going to reshoot, and then the same thing, we'll bring the Rookies into it, because it's still a part of the character's name is Ralphie Stigliano, so it's still a part of Ralphie's life that he goes through, and so it's definitely something that that we'll continue to add and put it in. Of course, we'll reshoot it, and there'll probably be a few different lines that'll be different and so forth like that. But generally, bringing those characters back, because it kind of gives me like a base as far as when I'm writing, when certain scenes are going to take place and so forth. Because I'm with that one, I'm about, I think I got like 38, 40 pages in already, on the full length feature. Um, but yeah, I love those movies, man. They're
Yeah.
fun to make. The one thing that I don't do is, and I was talking to someone the other day, is everything that you see. It's everything is implied when if someone gets shot, it's implied that they get shot. You'll hear gunshots or whatever, but you're never going to see. I'm never going to show you blood. I'm never going to show you anything else like that, because it's just like, especially if if you're doing a scene and there's blood or whatever, and if it's done bad, that's the first thing people notice. Oh my God, look, he died, but look at the blood, it looks like ketchup, or it looks, whatever the case may be, it doesn't even look real. So a lot of the stuff that that when I do certain things, I leave it for the audience to try to figure out. I have them try to say, hey, what happened, and who died at the end. um and that was kind of like, even like with the first dark comedy that I did was called Swimmers. And it's so funny because I showed it at a film case or a film showcase, and you could hear people around talking, oh, I know what they are, I know what they are, and they had no idea what they are. And I'm sitting there next to my wife, because she knows it, because she's seen the film, and you're hearing all these people saying, oh, I know what that is. Oh, those guys they're meth heads. They're making meth, or they're this. They're from Breaking Bad, or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, you guys have no idea. And then all of a sudden, as the movie goes on, and it's only 10 minutes, but when it got to the point where they kind of almost figured who it out, there was a slight twist. And to this day, my acting coach Glenn, he still tells me that's one of his favorite short films that he's ever seen. So, which is a huge compliment, and I'm very, very honored and very humbled for him to say something like that.
So you've also you did work a project called Reagan from Movie Star to President, and another project called The Price of Fame.
Yeah,
Were those like aired on TV, like
yeah,
productions?
yeah.
Like so,
Yeah, they were actually, yeah, they're through a studio down here in Dallas, and for the one for the Price of Fame, I played like I was Johnny Depp's like money guy, his manager.
mhm.
And you know, when I came home and I told my wife I got the role, she's like, "Oh my God, you're working with Johnny Depp." I go, "No, I'm not." I said, I wish I was, but no. But they, you know, they had, it's kind of like a documentary, kind of like
Mhm.
uh, biography type thing, and it was, people there were great. And then when we did the Reagan one was really really cool too, because we had a guy. I mean, he looked just like Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan. They were like just like perfect. And I got to play one of his Secret Service men, which again was just a lot of fun to do.
And then you've also you've done a bunch of commercials for Ready Seal.
Yeah,
And let me tell you, I've like, you looked familiar to me when I saw it, like when I saw your picture, and then I just today I was going through your reels and I was like, oh, I've definitely seen something with Ready Seal before and heard that voice before for something like that's. But yeah, so what was that like? Because those are
that
funny.
was
Those are pretty
uh,
good.
that was that was just a blast because we've done, you know, we the first time when you know when I booked it, um met a great director, and you know we became friends, and you know the guy who's with me in the commercial, great actor. We, you know, we shot a couple years ago, and then just about right before the pandemic hit, or right after, actually during the, about year and a half ago, we shot the second set of commercials. So we've probably done like, I don't know, I think there's like 8 or 9 commercials that we've done. And it's just so much fun. The cast, I mean, the crew itself is just phenomenal. You know, the owners of the company, just, you know, they were there, and just it's just, I mean, just so much fun, you know, when you're surrounded with great people, and you know, like someone says, "Oh, well, you just say that." I go, "No, because no," I said this product is awesome. You know, I even, because I like, even like at school, I had some of my kids like, "Coach, we saw you on TV. We saw you on TV. My mom bought that stain. We painted our fence with it." And I go, "Yeah, how'd it turn out?" She says, "Oh, she loves it. She thinks it's the best thing." I go, "Yeah, it's great stuff." You know, but yeah, it was, we had a lot of fun shooting those commercials. Definitely a lot of fun.
It's
And definitely, I mean, great company to work for.
it gave off heavy like the Ocean Spray guy vibes, like
Yeah,
those,
yeah,
but for
yeah,
Deck Seal. Like,
yeah, exactly.
um,
But it's good stuff, man. It's really great stuff.
so then you wrote, directed, and starred in the Session. So
Yeah.
how what is your process like when you're doing all of it like that, and versus when you're
Um,
maybe just an actor or just a writer or just a director or something like.
yeah, you know, it's like, for me, it's not that. I mean, I don't look at it very, you know, as something that's very difficult to do, because it's like when you're writing it, you already know what to expect from the character.
Mhm.
So you know, and even from like a you know, having to go over your lines, it's even easier because you wrote it. Because it's like, you know, it's just like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm going to study my lines, but you know, I know, you know, it's easier to know your lines, because you know you're not having to study the lines, because you literally wrote them, but you still want to go over them. But it's always been, you know, it's always been a lot of fun. You know, I had met with my agent right before COVID, and I was telling her, I said, you know, one of the things I don't want to do is just kind of rest on your laurels to find me an audition, you know, or, you know, to, you know, send me out here or send me out here. So I'm going to continue to keep writing. I'm going to continue to keep creating my craft, and putting myself in my films, whether it be a big part or a small part, because I still want to work on my acting and so forth. And that's one of the things, you know, I tell everybody, you know, and I'm still green as grass, you know, only been doing this for 8 years. But it's just like, if things are slow, or if you're not getting anything, and write something and go create it, go film it, because it helps you work on your trait, and you get to see how your writing is and everything else. And it's just you don't ever want to rest on someone else's laurels to find stuff for you, because the thing that is like, let's say you and Nick go in for an audition, okay, and I'm the casting director, and I'm sitting there going, my God, that Adam guy killed it. What'd you think of that Nick guy? You know what, that Nick guy was awesome too, he killed it too. But you know what, we're going to go with this Ben guy. Why? You know what, because he's got the look, and so much of it is a look. Oh my God, my agent, sorry, who just on my looks at my train, my agent who said, she goes, it's based on a look, so you can't go in and walk out of there going, God, I nailed this, I know I'm going to get it, because it's just like, it comes down to that person who's doing the casting to say, hey, you know what, this is the look we're going to go with.
Yeah.
And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but again, your job as an actor, you go in there, you do your job, you work out. If they call you, that's great. If they don't, it's still great, because you're going to go and something else is going to come along.
Yeah, I'm not an actor by any means, and that's honestly been my biggest struggle. Is I used to, like, before I went to college, I would make fun little shorts with me and my friends, and I'm so critical, especially of myself, that I don't know how you can direct yourself, because I am never happy with my own performance, to the extent that I'm like I can't do it. I cannot act, like, because I love writing and directing even more than I do acting. And I'm like, I just can't put myself in my own projects because I'm awful. Like, that's how I am.
Well, like for me, it's funny because I'm just like you. I'm my hardest critic, and I might have something. Oh, that was really, really good. But I trust the people I surround myself with. With my other actor friends, and my good friend Ben, who does all my production stuff. Because like when I'm playing the role as well as directing, I always will look to him and say, what do you think? Do you want to change anything? Is there something you want to do? And he goes, well, let's try this. Or I might think to him, hey, you know what? I was thinking about, rather than doing this, maybe do this. He goes, yeah, we'll shoot it and we'll see what it looks like. But yeah, it's not like super hard. It's just, but and again, like, on my sets, I mean, we're out there to have fun. It's just like, we're doing what we love. And it's just like, I don't have none of my actor friends are, they don't have any egos. Everybody's here to help each other. We all want to see everybody succeed, which makes it even greater. Because there's different times when I've been on a commercial and like, oh my gosh, you guys are like so easy to work with. And we're like, what? Because, oh, that's one person we had, they wanted this, or they kept wanting to shoot it again and they weren't happy and whatever. So it's just like, yeah, it's just, I mean, you gotta enjoy it, but you really gotta love what you do.
Yeah. Who has been the person that you were the most like starstruck that you've worked with, and then starstruck maybe that you've seen at a festival or something like that in your own life?
Let's see, from the stuff that I've done, because so much of most of it's all independent.
Yeah.
There's not really, I've loved everybody who I've worked with. My first screenplay that I wrote, called Walter. It's a family movie. That's the one that I pitched to a production company out in LA, who wanted to read it. When I wrote that, I only had one actor. Actually, I had two actors in mind. And, I told myself, I said, as there are so many great actors out there, there's only one person who can play Walter, and there's only one person I want to play the dad. And that was Morgan Freeman. I want him to play Walter. I mean, he's just one of my favorite actors of all time. I just think he's off the chart. He's just phenomenal. And then I don't know if you know who Ed Burns is. He's an actor. He's a writer, director.
He was a comedian too, right?
It sounds so familiar.
Ed Burns, wasn't he in Saving Private Ryan?
He was in was it Saving Private Ryan? Yes, and
I
I
know.
believe
I
so.
love Ed Burns.
And he was
I
in
love Ed Burns.
the Brothers McMullen.
Yep.
He wrote that. I mean, he's phenomenal. My God, he's just like amazing.
He used to be. God, where do I remember him from? He did an interview with like Adam Ferrara when Adam Ferrara did Top Gear. Like that's where I remember him from.
You know, and I told my wife, I said he's got to play the dad because he's the perfect dad for this role. You know, so if there are any Morgan Freeman people out there that know Morgan and or Mr. Freeman and Mr. Burns, I've got a script for him. You know, so and then of course, you know, Helen Mirren too. I don't know if you're familiar with Helen Mirren. I just think she's phenomenal. My wife knows that. I just think she's absolutely stunning and stuff like that. Because when I was writing Walter and I told her about The Next Door Neighbor, and she goes, "Well, who's gonna play the next door neighbor?" I said, "Well, I said in my world, Helen Mirren." She goes, "Oh, of course. Why not Helen Mirren?" So I'm like, she's the best, one of the best. So yeah, that would be my goal, you know, or my dream. So
I really, when I write, I try so hard to not like cast people because I know I'm not gonna really get what I want. But I have a script that I'm working on right now where I don't know the full background of it yet, but I just know it's Jason Statham on the run from the government, and he's like an ex-military, and our government's trying to kill him. For some reason, the government needs to kill him, but Jason Statham is in like a serious action movie, and then the assassin that the government hires to kill him is Ryan Reynolds in like your typical Deadpool-esque comedy Ryan Reynolds movie,
right.
With and then like the general is played by Jim Carrey. Like the government is all like, and he's playing like his kick-ass role or something, or even I don't remember the actor's name, but the guy who voices Mr. Krabs.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but like the government is all in like an action comedy, leaning way heavier on the comedy aspect, and then Jason Statham and the rest of the world are in like a serious deadpan action movie that take themselves seriously, and just having that dynamic between the two of them, but make it also like something that like there's no swearing, so like I always like in the script I'm writing in like that Ryan Reynolds would say like, "Oh shit, fuck," and then I go in afterwards and I find like funny things that he could say later, and he comes in and goes like, "Oh, tiddlywinks," and like stuff like that. Like that's. But yeah, I know that will never get made. But with Ryan Reynolds,
see, here's the thing. So let me ask you, why don't you ever think it'll get made?
Well, first of all, I don't think I'm ever going to finish it because I just don't have the time to get in there. And also, I don't know why the government's trying to kill Jason Statham, and why they would hire an assassin anyway. But
no, you got to make time. I mean, there's times like where it's like during the pandemic, I didn't write at all. I mean, I actually when I came, you know, just a couple months ago, I started writing back again in January, and I just like, what if I can't write anymore? You know? And then I wrote this new short film, and I was just like, okay, you know, it's, you know, I got my writing bug back. You know, I want to continue to write. But, you know, because I mean, like I said, I've got a lot of friends who's like, man, you're not going to get Morgan Freeman. You're not going to get Ed Burns. Yeah, just keep doing. You're not going to do a scene with Helen Mirren, whatever the case may be. And I'm like, you know what? You guys do you do you, and I'm going to do me. And you know, my goal is my goal and my vision and so forth. And you should have the same thing, man. Don't let anybody tell you can't do something.
Yeah, I'm gonna see. Here's the thing now, because you have connections, you're just gonna start getting random scripts from me now. Help me.
No, that's fine. I'll send you some great actors. I'll be like, hey, these people coming up to shoot your film. But yeah, because it's like you said, it's like, because you know, when you start to self-doubt yourself, it's just like, because even like I'm like going, what if somebody doesn't like this? What if I finally meet Morgan Freeman and he goes, you know what, this isn't a good script.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe he just doesn't like it. Doesn't mean it's a good script, because I love the script.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's just like, you know, if you look at today's genre of films, there's superhero films, there's tons of superhero films, there's horror movies, there's stuff like, but there's really not many family movies that you could take your 5-year-old, your 8-year-old, your 15, your grandma and grandpa too.
Yeah.
And this is kind of one of them where it's kind of just a really good feel good type of movie where you walk out and you're like, man, I totally get this. I mean, and I'm not saying everyone's going to feel that way. They might go, that's the dumbest thing I ever saw, which is totally fine. A la, Quentin Tarantino, who's one of my favorite directors. He's like, if you don't like my films, don't go watch them.
Yeah.
It's just like, you see my film, you don't like it, that's totally fine. You're not going to hurt my feelings. But again, I've had this dream for this film for a very, very long time. And when I finally wrote it and wrote it, the first time I wrote it was like 137 pages, which is way too long for a script.
Yeah.
And then, I was cutting things out and changing things, finally got it to about 104, 106 pages where it needs to be. And I'm like going, still have my picture of Morgan Freeman and Ed Burns and, from the roles I want them to play and everything from a pitch prospect and just like going, I'm going to do whatever I can. You never know when someone might go, you know what? I know Ed Burns. You know what? Let me reach out to him. Give me your script. Let me see what he thinks.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to have him direct it too. I'd be just like, here, go make this film for me, and just, be like, that would be a dream come true for me.
So at the start of the show, I asked you what your favorite project of yours was. Now coming to the end of it, what's, out of all of your projects that you've worked on, what's your least favorite? What's the one you're embarrassed by?
I don't even want to give you a name, but there are a few that I'm not fans of. I'll just put it like that. I won't tell you which ones.
Okay.
But there are definitely there's a few that are out there that I'm like just not fans of. But again, then my guy who did band, my buddy who does all my production work, he's like, no, this is a good film. Or someone else saw it and goes, no, this is really, really lovely. It really, I felt something, and I'm just like, yeah, which is great, but it's just like, it's just not my favorite, not something that I look back and go, oh man, this is just awesome, or I'm so proud of this film or anything like that. So,
Nick, do you have any questions to wrap up or no?
No. This has been fun. I learned about short films. I've never really watched them. Like the extent of short films I've watched are the animated ones before a Pixar movie. That's the extent I've watched. But no, I want to check them out. I like the idea of trying to fit a full story into 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, that's fascinating.
I got some good ones that I can send your way now.
Yeah.
I know
Okay.
some ones. Yeah. So yeah, John, thanks so much for coming on. Do you have anything to plug? Your new movies coming out?
Yeah, I got a new film coming out called My Journey to Me, which I'm very, very proud of. We start filming actually next weekend. We start filming, and that's a short, probably about a 30-minute short, and then continuing to go out there and pitch my screenplay for Walter, and hopefully get it in the hands of someone who wants to make it, and get Morgan Freeman and Ed Burns behind it, and then have Helen Mirren jump on, and it's gonna be a perfect world.
We're gonna start tweeting at Ed Burns.
Yeah.
There you go. Absolutely, do that. Say, hey, we got this. We met this guy. He's a Cubby fan, but he's got a great script for you. So.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode, everyone. And thanks so much to John. Thanks again for coming out, man.
All right. Thanks very much. You guys have a great week.
If you liked this episode, come and tell us your thoughts and join the conversation over on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just search for You Hate to See It. Our handles are at YOUH82CIT. You can also help us out by becoming a patron to the podcast. By becoming a patron, you get access to our private Discord server, our monthly movie review podcast, and even unedited video versions of the episode you just listened to, and many more. There's also some Taskmaster specials if you want to watch our older episodes. All links are going to be available in the description. Okay, haters, that's it for this week. You hate to see it end there, but fear not, we shall return. Same time, same place. You'd hate to miss it.
Were you trying to sound like a Star Trek episode?
Yeah.
Okay.